sometime in like November, December of 1997, I was arguing with somebody about, I told somebody that I could get over painting graffiti in New York and, you know, no problem, middle of the day. And the person bet me $20 that I couldn't do it. And I went out on January 4th, 1998 and started painting gates. The basic ethos with the security gates was like, I was painting security gates, roll down gates. I was painting them silver, you know, with a brush, which is like, you know, it's what you do when your gate's covered with graffiti. So I just decided to like kind of create an act of public service, or I should say create an act of graffiti that doubled as public service. So I went and painted gates silver and then a little bit of modification and made them say Espo. I wasn't sure at first how property owners would react, but when I found out that they really didn't care or they had a minimum interest in caring, then it just went crazy. Then I just went crazy with it and did like 75 of them. I did the ones on the West Side Highway over like a 3-day period, and you know, after all was said and done, it was just like, it was a real problem because it suddenly turned graffiti on its side in a way that people weren't mad at and yet was completely illegal. So finding that little loophole, it became like a real bad problem and a really great piece of art.
Yo, you gonna help me? There is a technique because many pairs were found on the floor with them unlaced. So you gotta knot it and then double knot it. So these are the high voltage, the 2005 edition. Been changing it up every year. This is the New York Ode to Construction Sites. There's so many construction sites and shit. How long does it take you? Oh, this is a common burnout error because we smoke weed every time we make it. Is I forgot to drill a hole in that one.
How long does it take to make each pair?
Well, we silkscreen, if you saw that plaque on the wall, 2 pairs at a time on a certain size board, so we, you know, put them quicker. That takes the most time. Actually, shit. Yo, I grabbed pairs that were not drilled. It's gonna die out real soon.
It's gonna implode, I think. I think that's what kind of happened in the late 80s, probably late 80s is when it just got so saturated. Like Breaking One and Beach Street was kind of cool, but I look at it now and realize how corny it was and how so untrue, like the way that all went down. I think once there's a big corny movie that comes out, like Street Art 3D or whatever, like then it's gonna, that's when it's over.
I can't see myself stopping. You know, maybe slowing down, or I've noticed my work lately has been a little more focused. You know, I spend a much longer amount of time now working on specific pieces before I run out the door with it to hang it somewhere. Yeah, I've been working lately on this underwater theme, doing these silhouettes. That whole experience of being underwater is just magical, and I kind of wanted to introduce some of that to the streets and do something entirely different. I feel that if I stick with the same stuff over and over again, I'm going to get bored. I'm not going to be challenged, and people are going to get bored.
Something needs to be said for people that make stencils. Potentially anybody can come and pick up a can of spray paint and go out that same night and catch a tag. But not everybody can pick up that same can of spray paint and cut a stencil and then go out and rock that stencil that night. It's a different kind of thinking when you make stencils. You know, and that's why I think that backs up more of the art background to the work of it. The urban landscapist today is someone that meddles in all 3 major media of the street, which would be graffiti, stenciling, and postering. And I'm seeing a lot more urban landscapists coming out today, a lot more people trying the new mediums, opening their minds, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're not going to open up your mind, you're going to stop growing.
Alright, I'm standing right now in Soho on the corner of Spring and Elizabeth in front of the wall. This right here is what I call an open-air gallery. It's one of a number of spots that form in cities where artists all kind of go to put their work up, and everyone kind of checks each other's work out. What we see here right here is a Skewville, the Fame game, and then back here is Faile. Over time, they'll wear off, the wheat pastings will come down, the artist will come back, put new ones up, or other people come in, and this way it kind of creates a nice dialogue that happens between artists and helps to really centralize the movement in set areas. There's a number of different tenets that describe what street art is. That's separated from anything else that could be on the street. It's free, it's not an ad, it's illegal.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're not doing illegal work, you're retired. I think it was partially anger and wanting attention when I was younger, and that eventually turned into wanting to just make art and use the cityscape as my canvas.
I never really grew up with graffiti culture, stencil culture, or any of that kind of stuff until I was much older and moved to New York. It wasn't really even an art school thing because I studied graphic design in college, and I didn't have any friends that were like doing that kind of stuff. It was more like, I guess, self-initiated.
So I got started doing street art in art school back in the late 1970s in New York City. Me and my friends didn't much care for what was going on in art galleries and art museums at the time. And, basically, I started doing art outside so I could just take some over on my motorcycle and say, look what I painted. Because I knew I wasn't going to be showing my stuff in galleries. Galleries were just for people in their 40s, usually white men. Of course, now I'm a white man in my 40s, so I show my work in galleries.
The way graffiti works is, graffiti is like a signal at the edge of the community. It's just like, you know, you put your tag up, you put your piece up, and then you wait. And people from the neighborhood, community walk by, they look at the piece, and they go, gee, what's that?
Real artists use a paintbrush.
The way the sign painting works is the sign starts out at the center of the community, and then it broadcasts itself out to the edge of the community where the graffiti writers are. There's no bullshit involved with signs. They're there to inform and instruct, and you know. So signs was like, I thought, a nice segue from the subway.
Say yo!
When the graffiti writers first saw the El Dorado and the first signs I painted, they knew it was me. They came up to me right away. They said, I knew that's you. And you know, as soon as that had hit, and I felt like I was getting the recognition anyway without putting a tag up or, you know, an identifying mark. You know, again, it was just like, I just went crazy with it. I just decided to like try and paint everything I could in Coney Island. And, you know, I'll be looking to do it in other places.
So this is the story about how I did that piece across the street. I showed up here one night around 3 o'clock in the morning. I had 2 6-foot by 8-foot stencils and a ladder. When I came here, I was starting to unload, and a cop rolled up. He rolled right up. He rolled right at that corner right there, and he looked at me and he just kept going. So I figured I knew where that guy was, so I was going to finish what I was doing. So when I went up and I put my first stencil up because you could see their two-tones, and I started painting, another cop rolled right behind me, just like that car did right there, and he just kept going too. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to finish.
Interestingly enough, LACMA's employee parking garage, which has been a popular destination since 2000, when Margaret Kilgallen and Barry McGee first received permission from the museum to do an installation in conjunction with the show Made in California.
We were in town doing a show with Shepard Fairey and WK Interact, and we were staying with Shepard Fairey. And at the same time, he had a raffle that was going on at LACMA. He had painted this Vespa moped bike. I forget what charity it was going off to, but he was doing that, and when we were down in the garage, we were noticing all the stuff down there, and we were like, this is awesome. And we were pretty busy while we were there, and we really didn't have a lot of time to do much, but one night we asked if he'd take us down there and go down there and paint the garage, and we went down there, and security came to like stop, but he introduced who he was, and they were like, no problem, so we got to hang out in there and just paint the garage.
The new frontier is here. The new frontier is here. The new
Faile got started about 5 years ago. It's formed with 3 members as a life. The idea behind that name originally was that we were doing street art, and the name had the work had a life to it. One day it would be there, the next it wouldn't. And right when we were about to do our first big street art installation, we found out about this store called Alife, which was down in New York, and we'd also been arrested recently, and we were kind of just evaluating who we were and what we wanted to represent, because we were kind of looking at it long term. And we came up with like an anagram, which was Faile, taken from the word Alife. And the idea behind Faile was like, look past your failures, your shortcomings to succeed, or don't let, just kind of look past things and find a life through it. Our first installation was going to be something that would kind of go up against everything that was up on the street at the time. We found a lot of it was like Shepard Fairey and Bast and WK Interact. A lot of it tended to be like propaganda-based, masculine, aggressive type art. And we were like, let's do something like totally classic art-based. We'll do the female nude. I grew up in St. Albert, Alberta. There wasn't any graffiti there, and I didn't really see graffiti, and then I went to high school in Arizona, and there was no real graffiti there either. So first time I actually kind of got inspired by like the whole street art thing was I did a study abroad in England, and I went down to Brighton, and Brighton had this real strong I guess kind of punk culture of stenciling and stuff like that, and I'd seen a lot of like stencil graffiti up in Brighton, and I was like, this is awesome. And then a year later I ended up in New York working down on Canal Street down at Pearl Paint. I used to walk up that street to go get lunch, and everything was there, and that was just kind of like inspiring.
I think the internet is what made it so big, but that's also what's killing it. It's like MTV, you know what I'm saying? Like, only the cool kids listen to punk rock, but now when punk rock could be played in the Midwest, every Midwest kid, you know, gets a mohawk and thinks he's cool. It's kind of like, not everyone is supposed to know everything. You know, like, when me and you know something, that's why we're cool. If you know what I'm doing, or you see my face, or you know what I look like, or you know where I'm from, you know everything about me, you kill the mystique. And that's what sucks about the internet. The other problem with the internet is internet fame. It's like one kid puts up a couple of stickers, but he's a computer nerd and hits every blog out there, and his shit is all over the internet. You know, so that's what the graffiti kids hate. Graffiti kids hate that's what they hate about street art the most about it, is that they're not really keeping it real. It's more about technology.
About territory. For graffiti, I mean, it's more about territory. You know, and the internet's kind of like this new vast land where, you know, the geeks are getting over.
There's so much stuff out there, and I think this, you know, the internet has really helped that along. All these books and stuff, and people are really interested in what's going on, kind of chime in and do their own stuff, which is awesome. You know, when I started, there wasn't, you know, nearly as many people doing it.
We used to do stickers and kind of other stuff, but really weren't formed, I guess. But, you know, kind of noticed stuff going on the street, like Espo and Costin Rez were definitely our all-time favorites. So one trip we coming back from San Francisco and kind of noticing all the wires. And as kids, we always tossed up sneakers, always tossed up our black Converse that we were sporting for years, and kind of just took that
you know, kind of transformed it into our art.
Next levelism.
So the hoodies is something I did in the early 90s, and it's an unusual project for me because I needed help to do it. So me and a friend would go out in a car late at night and put these up. We put them up only in the Lower East Side, around where people where they were selling drugs and where it was particularly dangerous. They were kind of like these warning signs. But the first real things I started painting were the hummingbirds. Since I'm a very realistic painter, I needed something that had a reason to be hovering, you know, floating. When I paint them, I wouldn't paint actual hummingbirds. I would paint responding to where I was. So it was like a black door. I'd say, an orange one, blue wings. You know, so I'd sort of like, you know, make a painting, sort of like a collage onto my environment.
I think my work and what I choose to do isn't as direct as doing something in the street that will challenge advertising per se. I know that it does, but that's not really my intention. I'm really trying to get people to, especially in a city like New York or any other big city that I've been to get people to stop on whatever daily path that they're on and just smile at something they see. Because I know when I'm walking around and I see other people's work, or even if it wasn't intentional work, it was just like an interesting wall or interesting sunlight, when I stop dead in my tracks, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I try to spread some of that, you know. I like the meatpacking district a lot because of the decay and like the archaeological aspect of it. I like paint peeling off the walls, I like the filth on the ground, and I like the contrast that my work has against it. This neighborhood is no stranger to contrast. I mean, you've got $1 million apartments like that way, you've got pig guts on the floor this way, and I mean, I think it's awesome. It's great. And it's changing, so I don't know how long I'm going to be doing work here, but, you know, I try to mix it up. As far as the commodification of it and all, I mean, industry is trying really hard and failing at reaching people my age and younger that have money to spend, you know, and they're failing at it. So they're looking at street art as a way to tap into that. You know, Shepard is doing a great job of doing that with his marketing firm. You know, I mean, he really knows how to get the word out and stuff, and been really successful with it, which I think is great for him. But as far as the dialogue between what artists are doing and advertising, I mean, it's really kind of like that dialogue between fashion and art. It's a really fine line. Stuff is really starting to blend.
And this is what's so cool about it. This is rebellion right here. This is like, you know, not corporate controlled art, you know. This is something like it's making its own rules, and it's messy. There's a lot of bad stuff. There's a lot of, you know, things that would be weeded out probably, but that's part of it. And that's what's so good about it, I think, you know. I mean, that's just how it works. And I gotta say, you know, like the times we're in, we need some rebellion. We need some people, you know, doing something a little challenging. So there's bad art out there, that's part